It's easy to look back at Obi-Wan Kenobi and see the robe, the beard, the tragic one-liners, and think, yeah, that guy did everything right. I mean, he fought in a war, chopped Darth Maul in half, survived Order 66, and still found time to babysit a moisture farmer from a distance. But let's not kid ourselves. For all the lightsaber twirls and Jedi wisdom, Obi-Wan made one mistake that cost the galaxy everything. And no, I'm not talking about letting Anakin near Padme without adult supervision. I'm talking about the one thing nobody ever mentions in the council chambers or fan forums. The fact that Obi-Wan never learned how to just be a friend. Not a master, not a mentor, not a mouthpiece for the Jedi Code. Just a guy who actually saw the pain behind the prophecy. Anakin didn't need another hallway speech about fear leading to anger. He needed someone to sit down, shut up, and say, "Hey, are you okay?" Instead, he got lectures about attachment, rules about feelings, and the emotional support of a damp towel. If the Jedi Temple had offered therapy, we might not be having this conversation. And don't get me wrong, Obi-Wan wasn't a villain. He wasn't malicious. He was just trapped in a system that trained him to suppress every human instinct, except the ones involving acrobatics and cryptic wisdom. And when your entire emotional toolkit consists of vague disappointment and dramatic exits, you're going to miss a few warning signs. But even with the galaxy collapsing, he kept trying to be what the Jedi told him to be. And in the process, losing the one person who just needed something real. Not dogma, not destiny, just one honest moment of connection. And the tragedy is, Obi-Wan didn't even realize what he lost until it was screaming at him from a river of lava. In this video, we're breaking down the emotional wreckage of the Obi-Wan and Anakin dynamic, the brotherhood that could have saved the galaxy, and how one man's blind loyalty turned the Chosen One into the galaxy's biggest cautionary tale. Buckle up, because this one's going to be sharp, emotional, and just uncomfortable enough to ruin your next rewatch. We all remember the epic duels and iconic lines. The Chosen One falling from grace. The mentor left staring into the fire. But beneath the lightsaber flourishes and galactic politics, something more personal was breaking down. Something quieter, sadder, and honestly way more human. Obi-Wan Kenobi was supposed to be Anakin's anchor. But was he ever truly his friend? From the very beginning, their relationship felt off balance. Obi-Wan didn't even want to train Anakin at first. It was Qui-Gon's dying wish that forced his hand. That already sets the tone, doesn't it? Being someone's responsibility is not the same as being their priority. And Anakin wasn't just some Padawan needing basic lessons. He was a kid, ripped from his mother, told he was special, and then tossed into a monastery of emotionally constipated space monks. And Obi-Wan, instead of stepping in like an older brother, or even a friend, became a stern substitute teacher with a lightsaber and a rulebook. They fought, constantly, not just in battle, but in ideology. Anakin craved connection. Obi-Wan enforced detachment. Even their banter was less friendly ribbing and more barely contained resentment wrapped in sarcasm. It was like watching two people pretending they got along because the war didn't give them time to figure out how much they didn't. And that's the heart of it. Before the betrayal, before the screams on Mustafar, before the lava and the heartbreak, there was already something broken, and nobody noticed because they were too busy calling it destiny. Let's just say it. The Jedi Order was a mess. But Obi-Wan wasn't just following the rules. He embodied them. And that's where the frustration kicks in hard. Because while Anakin was drowning in emotion, Obi-Wan was reciting policy like a loyal HR rep in a collapsing company. Every time Anakin reached out, Obi-Wan pulled back. Instead of asking why Anakin was struggling, he reminded him that emotions were dangerous. Instead of talking through grief, he shut it down with vague philosophy about peace and letting go. It's like telling someone who's on fire to be more chill. When Anakin confided in him about the council not trusting him, Obi-Wan responded with, "What? More lectures about patience. More Jedi slogans about the bigger picture." Even in Revenge of the Sith, when Palpatine's influence is thick enough to choke the air, Obi-Wan misses the signs entirely. And what's worse is that he thinks he's helping. The most glaring moment of this emotional tone deafness. The scene where Anakin confesses he's torn, that he feels lost, that he needs help, and Obi-Wan gives him a half-hearted pep talk about duty and trust in the Force. That's not mentorship. That's emotional negligence with a lightsaber flare. And when it finally falls apart, it doesn't just break the Republic, it shatters something deeply personal. Because Obi-Wan wasn't just Anakin's teacher, he was the only family the kid had left. And that makes the final betrayal all the more crushing. That line, "You were my brother, Anakin," isn't just a meme or a dramatic shout. It's Obi-Wan finally realizing what he should have said years earlier. And by then, it's already too late. Because Anakin doesn't just fall, he implodes, and drags everyone with him. It's heartbreaking to rewatch the Clone Wars with this in mind. All the missions, the banter, the forced smiles, and tense silences. It was a friendship built on sand, constantly shifting, never fully solid. And underneath it all was a kid begging for someone to actually see him. Even Ahsoka noticed it. She could feel the darkness in Anakin before anyone else dared to acknowledge it. And even she, his own Padawan, was pushed away when things got too close. And Obi-Wan, the one person who might have been able to help, stayed silent behind that Jedi mask. There's a tragic irony to it all, that the man who loved Anakin most never truly knew how to show it, until it was time to kill him. But here's the thing. Obi-Wan wasn't a villain, far from it. He was a war hero, a brilliant strategist, and arguably the most disciplined Jedi of his era. And that's what makes his failure so compelling. Because it came from a place of genuine belief and deep loyalty. The man faced down Maul, Grievous, Dooku, and Vader, and survived. Not because he was the strongest, but because he had unshakable resolve. He didn't waver, didn't flinch, didn't run. He stayed the course, even when the course was on fire. And you can see it in how he carries himself. Always calm, always composed. Like a man made of stone trying to survive in a hurricane. Even when the Council doubted him. Even when Anakin broke his heart. Even when the galaxy fell apart. Obi-Wan never cracked. He even watched Luke grow up from a distance. Alone in the desert, aging faster than the plot of a bad sequel. All because he still believed in the mission. Believed in redemption. Believed there was still something worth protecting. And that's what makes Obi-Wan tragic in his own right. He wasn't just blind to Anakin's pain. He was trying to protect the galaxy while ignoring the emotional war inside the cockpit next to him. But maybe, just maybe, it wasn't all for nothing. Because in the end, Obi-Wan did what no one else could. He survived, he learned, and he made sure that Anakin's legacy didn't end in ash. He didn't just protect Luke, he protected the possibility of forgiveness. By training Luke, not as a dogmatic Jedi, but as something more balanced, Obi-Wan gave the galaxy a second chance, one that wasn't built on denial, but on understanding. And that was a massive shift from how he treated Anakin. Maybe it was the first time he led with empathy instead of expectation. You can feel the difference. Obi-Wan still taught restraint, but he didn't smother Luke's emotion. He guided it. He encouraged questions. He accepted the past instead of running from it. And that change that came from pain. And that pain made him more human than he had ever allowed himself to be. Because the ghost of Anakin never left him. Not really. It haunted him in the quiet moments, in the Tatooine winds, in the face of every lost opportunity, and that's what fueled his growth. Not Jedi doctrine, but regret. He learned the hard way that control was never the same as connection, and in a weird way, that's kind of beautiful. The idea that failure isn't the end, it's the beginning of wisdom, and maybe being broken is what finally made him whole. But wisdom doesn't always come cheap, and in Obi-Wan's case, it came at the cost of his greatest student, his closest companion, the one person he could never truly reach, the one person who needed him most, and got the least of him. He failed Anakin not because he didn't care, but because he cared the wrong way, through duty instead of connection, through control instead of compassion. And that miscalculation reshaped the fate of the entire galaxy, a galaxy that mistook silence for strength and obedience for love. The Republic didn't just fall because of Palpatine's schemes, it fell because two brothers on the same path never learned how to walk it together. Because love without vulnerability is just performance, and mentorship without empathy is just noise. And no one in the Jedi Order knew how to speak without preaching. And that's the legacy of Obi-Wan and Anakin, not just a battle on a volcano, but a slow collapse of trust between two people who were never taught how to be honest with each other. A collapse masked by heroism, veiled in titles, and ultimately sealed with a scream. Thank you for watching the whole video. I make videos because of my love for Star Wars and Marvel. I've been asked countless times how I get my subtitles, and I generate them automatically with a tool I built. That same tool can be used here on my website. It's completely free and doesn't require signing up. My website contains the subtitle generator that is perfect for any video. Blogging post, where you can sign up with your email and receive notifications for when I post, and also my 3 channels. Critical Analysis Hub focuses on Star Wars and Marvel movies. Critical Analysis Hub Plus looks at Star Wars and Marvel shows. And Critical Analysis Hub XP centers on video games, like The Last of Us series, Jedi Survivor, and GTA 5. Thank you for being a fan.